What is good, guys? It's Ronald Kabang, also known as Youcapper from Sportsmemo.com. This is episode 3 of Let's Cap. I was supposed to have Chris be capping today, my guest, my buddy, but we had a scheduling issue. Hopefully, we can get him on soon though, because he's a friend of mine now. I've only known him for a short period of time, but ever since we met, we've vibed, and I love what he's doing in on Twitter and on his spaces. So definitely want to get him on the show pretty soon here. But yeah, so I'm gonna be rocking by myself today. But before we get started, I just want to kind of go over what we're gonna go what the show's gonna be about today. So first, I'm gonna talk about what I learned yesterday, more specifically what I learned about James Harden. Um, and I'll be capping both NBA games today: the Bucks versus the Celtics and the Warriors versus the Grizzlies. I do have a prop bet, actually two prop bets I want to talk about today as well. And we do have a UCAP capper of the day, Brent at Brent Best Bets on Twitter. He capped an NHL game, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, well, with that said, let's get started. So, obviously, I want to talk about James Harden yesterday, and what I learned about him. It's tough, because I was a big Harden fan, especially when he was in OKC and how he played there, or, starting there and then moving over to Houston and how he played there as well. He's just someone that you wanted to to play offense like. But it got to the point where he relied on getting free throws, and that kind of affected his offense. I mean. Basically, what I learned is he's not the same James Harden anymore. I did not notice that just yesterday. It's been a while, but I feel like I just finally now figured out what happened to him and what led to his decline. I mean, yesterday Embiid was out, right? Everyone expected James Harden to really pick up the slack, but his game was has drastically changed the last few years. He's no longer that dominant scorer that we all knew. He was supposed to be Philly's number two. With Embiid out, he should have been the guy to benefit from more shot opportunities. But both Maxey and Tobias Harris attempted more shots than he did. He wasn't aggressive at all. I want to think that it really has to do with a combination of both how games are being officiated lately and also just the expectation of getting a foul called kind of messed his game up. He became too reliant on going to the free throw line, basically sacrificing his form and shot quality to try and draw fouls on purpose. And as you can see, I mean, fouls are subjective, and they're at this point they're not being called the same way as it was when he was with the Rockets. I mean, James Harden is still a threat by name just because of who he is as a person and his name, but he's not Philly's number two, maybe 2B or a 2C. He's tied with Maxey and Tobias at this point. To me, he's just definitely not the same guy. And I think moving forward, we just can't expect that type of output from James Harden anymore. He's not going to put up 40 like he used to. We got to expect 20-point games, maybe 10 assist games. That's the best we're going to get from Harden at this point. So yeah, that's what I learned yesterday. I just feel like getting called, going to the free throw line so many times with the Rockets kind of just affected his game. But yeah, with that said, let's move on to capping these NBA playoff games today. First off, we have the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics here. Celtics are favored by 5. The total's up at 215.5. I talked about the Bucks defense on my show the other day. They showed that why they're the reigning champs. Right, the Celtics were the number one offensive rated team in the league post All-Star break, and the Bucks limited them to just 89 points on 33% shooting. Today, though, I do think the Celtics bounce back here. A lot of the trends to me are pointing towards them today. 10-4 straight up and 9-5 against the spread in revenge spots against teams with a winning record. Also 16-6 straight up and 15-7 against the spread following a previous matchup where they turned the ball over 15 or more times. They don't typically do that time. They usually take care of the ball. And if you add to the fact that they shot less than 40% from the field in those games as well, they are 4-0 straight up and against the spread. That includes teams like Miami, Toronto, and Atlanta, all of whom are playoff teams. So for me here, a lot of the trends are pointing to a Boston Celtics bounce back here. I do think they cover. I have the Celtics today and -5 for that game. But the next game here is another great game. The Warriors are 2-point favorites on the road. Total is at 227.5 here against the Memphis Grizzlies. Today, I'm going the other way. I liked I got I believe I had the Grizzlies on the spread, so I ended up sorry, I had Golden State on the money line game one. Luckily, I passed on the spread. Today, I'm passing on the spread on Golden State and going with the money line on the Grizzlies. I get I think the Grizzlies get this one outright, whether or not Desmond Bain plays with the injury. I expect Coach Jenkins to make the right adjustments. I mean, throughout the regular season, they were really great here in revenge spots. And they were also rarely home dogs during the regular season as well. And they performed well in those spots too. They were 7-4 straight up, 8-3 against the spread as home dogs with a winning record. And if you add that it was a conference game, they were 4-2 straight up and 5-1 against the spread. So they play up to their opponents in conference games, especially as home dogs here. To me, I think it's the depth and the coaching staff here on the Grizzlies side that's going to make up for the loss in game one. Obviously, in game one with the Warriors getting the outright win by 1 point as 2-point favorites. It's going to be a tight series all throughout all the games here. I mean, the biggest reason why here is really just the coaching adjustments. I think if we look at trends on the Warriors side, they didn't do that well against teams that they beat previously. Obviously, this is the playoffs. It could be different than the regular season, but I do trust that Jenkins is going to have his team ready here, try to get that home court advantage back, and then head over to Oakland to go 1-1 in the series. And from a prop perspective, so going back to that, Grizzlies money line plus 110 was the play there. From a prop perspective, though, I'm looking at that first game, the Bucks and the Celtics here, mainly towards Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis, he's going to be a key player today, I believe. I think Celtics are going to try to game plan a way to attack Giannis to try and get him into foul trouble, because obviously Giannis is that guy here for the Bucks. That's the do-it-all guy. He got the triple-double in the first game. If Giannis gets into foul trouble, they're going to force the Milwaukee Bucks to have the role players step up. And if Celtics are successful at getting Giannis into foul trouble, Portis will likely be one of the key guys to step up. I think he's going to go over 14.5 points here. And I also think he's going to go over 10.5 rebounds. So I have both props on Bobby Portis here. He's already been playing heavier minutes than he was in the regular season, especially with Middleton out here. And in the last 4 playoff games without Middleton, he's had games of 18-16, 18.16 rebounds, 14-10, 14-17, and 15-11. So if the game goes the way that I think it's going to go with the Celtics attacking Giannis, getting him into foul trouble, Portis is going to have another 30 plus minute night, probably up to 35 minutes. And he's going to go over both points and rebounds, because they're going to have to rely on him as that big guy that could kind of spread the court on offense and also get the defensive rebound. So I'm looking at Bobby Portis to go 10.5, over 10.5 rebounds, and also over 14.5 points. And so that brings us to the Youcapper section. We got Brent Best Bets. He has an NHL play today. Obviously I don't do NHL that much, but he's bringing this into the mix. Here's his pick and analysis.
What's up, everybody? Brent's Bets here. You can find me on Twitter at Brent Best Bets. Play of the day for Tuesday, May 3rd. It's going to be in the game between the Penguins and the Rangers in the first round of the NHL playoffs. The play is going to be the first period under 1.5 goals, coming in at -115. Really even series and really close matchup here. You got the series price right around pick'em. This game one is -120, -125 for the Rangers, with a low total sitting at 5.5. And this is backed by a 47-game sample size across the playoffs. This involves the first game of the series with a short home favorite between Pick'em and -140 with a total under 6. The first period under has gone under 1.5 goals in 31 of the 47 games. You had this situation on Monday, May 2nd, between the Bruins and the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes were short home favorites with the total at 5.5, and we had a scoreless 0-0 first period. So really looking for some defense and Igor Shesterkin for the Rangers to show up in the Garden. Both these teams were bottom 5 in first period overs, so hitting the first period under over 55% of the time in the regular season. I know the Penguins are without starting goaltender Jari, but the Smith has been decent these past few weeks in his absence, posting an over 90% save percentage to close out the season. Again, I love Shesterkin in the Garden, and with an evenly matched series on the horizon, I like a low-scoring first period here in Madison Square Garden. So the play again, first period under 1.5 between the Penguins and the Rangers. Let's root for some boring hockey. Enjoy the playoffs, and best of luck.
All right, that was Brent's best bets with the NHL look. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to add much to this. I don't know much about hockey, but I do have systems that I've been running and monitoring for a couple years now. I just don't have the time to really get in depth with it. And at this point, if I was to bet hockey, it would be solely off numbers. And to me, that I don't want to do that. I need to make it make sense for me. So hopefully soon NHL will be something that I'll have more time to dive into. But at this point, I'm going to rely on guys like Brent to pass on that NHL knowledge. So good luck to him. His play was the Penguins Rangers first period under 1.5 goals. But yeah, I think that is it for today. At this point, I had giving props banner up the whole time. That's fine. But yeah, so that is it for today. I think I just want to go over the recap real quick. We had the game 1 of the NBA slate today, Milwaukee versus Boston. I had the Celtics -5. In game 2, Golden State versus Memphis, I had the Grizzlies money line +110. On the prop side, I had Bobby Portis over 14.5 points and Bobby Portis over 10.5 rebounds. And we had Brent's best bets for the Youcapper section, Penguins, Rangers, first period under 1.5 goals. So that's the recap. That's basically the end of the show. Once again, thanks for tuning in. And before I shut this down, though, let me just remind you again, fade or follow these plays. It's on you to make the call. Good luck on all your action. Until next time, peace.